choice feminism is dragging us back into the patriarchy. Let's talk about it.
365 party girl. Should we do a little key? Should we have a little line?
Hey everyone, I'm Liv. Nice to meet y'all. If you've never been here, I hope you stay and maybe subscribe at the end of the video. That'd be super cool. And if you're not new here and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Today we're going to talk about Love Island specifically. Unfortunately, I know it's the hot topic of discussion everywhere, and I feel like everyone and their mother is watching it this season. So interesting, because it's actually the worst season I've ever watched of Love Island. I've been a long time watcher since I've been little 13-year-old Liv. Now, Vanna on Love Island. Vanna girl. I am not judging her character. I don't want anyone to think so. But there is an obvious statement to be made of, wow, that girl looks a lot older than she is. There's a lot of statements to be made about her physical appearance. Let's say I did make a TikTok, and it is my most viewed TikTok I've ever made, ever. It actually has like almost 7 million views at this point, which is absolutely insane. But I was just saying that she does not look her age. She does not look 21. And whoever did that in her life, what are you doing? Social media has skewed our perception of what we look like as a whole. And I want to talk about Instagram face, but I want to make this more of a statement towards choice feminism as a whole, because there was a really interesting discourse that started in my comments that I did make another video about, kind of talking about how let her do what she wants. Well, no, I'm not gonna. It's not about this girl at this point. It is about plastic surgery. It is about the medical spa industry as a whole and cosmetic industry as a whole, especially injection industry, that I have a problem with. Telling women that there's something inherently wrong with them that they need to fix in order to look better, to fit into society more, genuinely is playing into the patriarchy, whether we see it or not. Now, you might say, Liv, you're wearing makeup, you're doing your hair, you're wearing earrings, you're trying to look presentable. I'll get to that in the video, because I think that there is a difference between empowerment and feminism and choice feminism. And we need to lean more into the empowerment side of things rather than the she's doing it, let her do what she wants, because that's the feminist way to go. First and foremost, I want to say, did I do a lot of history lessons into feminism? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I listened to a few podcast episodes. I did enough research to understand the basics of the first, second, third, and fourth wave of feminism. And I truly do believe we're going into the fifth wave of feminism right now. I don't want anyone to be miseducated by my video, so I'm stating that right now. Do not come for me with solid facts, solid dates, solid figures that were in the early stages of feminism. I'm specifically talking about this new wave we are falling into and my opinions on that. Just want to get that disclaimer out of here before someone says anything about that, because we're on the internet and I know someone will. First and foremost though, quick history lesson, just a little blip of one of the first, second, and third wave of feminism, and fourth. The first wave of feminism was in the late 1800s to early 1900s. Voting rights, access to education, and property rights were kind of up on the talking stage. Does that make sense? It will for this video. First wave feminism, though, was very classist, it was very homophobic, and it was also very racist. We were only kind of talking to skinny, white, rich women when we were talking about first wave feminism. Second wave feminism was more about reproductive rights, equal pay, workplace discrimination, domestic violence, and changing the gender norms. So not every woman wants to just be a wife and have kids and that be her destiny. Some girls want to start a business. They want to go off and girl boss, you know what I mean? And we'll talk about girl bossing too in this video, don't worry. Third wave of feminism was kind of a critique on the earlier waves of feminism, kind of dealing with more intersectionality and saying we can't group all women together because women of color, they have a very different experience in this world than a white woman like myself. You guys deal with other societal pressures that I will never have to face a day in my life. So definitely critiquing of the earlier waves of feminism, centering white middle-class women, embracing differences in race, sexuality, class, and gender identity. Then we get into the fourth wave of feminism, which is like the 2010s to quote unquote now, but I think we're really phasing out of this wave of feminism. The Me Too movement, body positivity, trans rights, online misogyny, consent culture, and racial justice. Now, when we talk about the fourth wave of feminism, this is where choice feminism started to arise, saying whatever a woman wants to do to her body to quote unquote make her feel better, to make her look better, whatever she wants to do, that is ultimately a feminist decision. This is where I start to disagree. Let me read what I have written out, and then I will continue on with my personal thoughts on this matter. Female empowerment versus choice feminism. We have allowed ourselves to say that any decision a woman makes is feminist. For example, saying plastic surgery is just a woman's choice. Just a woman's choice is a feminist choice to feel better about herself without considering the patriarchy and why we feel the need to change things about ourselves because something is wrong with us to begin with. We've been conditioned our entire lives to believe that wearing makeup is just our choice, rather than something we do to please the people around us. We believe that sexual liberation is becoming an OnlyFans model at the young, ripe age of 18, because we believe that sexual liberation is better than sexual expression. This is also a topic for another video I want to talk about with the sexual liberation, and I will get into this at a different time. And I would like to do more research into this before I just start speaking about it, because my thoughts are not facts, and I'm very well aware of that. But again, I've listened to like 5 hour-and-a-half long podcast episodes in the past 2 days trying to like prepare for this, and I know that those are other people's thoughts and opinions, but it's given me a lot of insight to what other people think about this stuff. And I think that what we think about these current issues is really important, not necessarily, I don't want to say not necessarily research, because that just diminishes the point of research. But yeah, again, these are my thoughts about everything. I've already said that. I'm just really covering my bases when I say these things. And we see OnlyFans as this is liberation to be able to use my body for these platforms, when in reality, and for especially for young women, I'm not talking about a 30-year-old who does OnlyFans for money on the side or is very successful in OnlyFans. I'm talking about young, susceptible children, 18 to like 25. I'm calling myself a child in this video, yes. We don't understand, and I don't think we have the weight or the mental capacity to understand how much that honestly does feed into the patriarchy. And I don't think OnlyFans is as liberating as we may see. I think that it is a repurposed, repackaged version of Pornhub at this point. There are people and women getting pimped out on OnlyFans by men who want to run these accounts and run their funds for them. And we are missing the point of like sexual expression. Sexual expression, what you choose to wear, how you choose to go about living your life, I think is really important, and also really important for feminism as a whole. But when it comes to why we're doing these things like selling our bodies on the internet, that's where we get into some sticky situations. The plastic surgery industry as a whole, in my personal opinion, is very damaging to the way women view themselves in the world. You can blame the Kardashians, you can blame Hollywood as a whole, you can blame the normalcy of it, but it's us every day who continue to uphold this standard, and we confuse women empowerment with feminism. Now, the biggest things that I know I'll get drawback for with talking about this is if a woman wants to, she can. As much as I agree, I equally disagree, because I think that when we use this kind of logic to talk about such a heavy topic, we diminish the weight of why we're doing something, and just saying because it makes me feel better, well, why is that making you feel better? Who are you trying to impress with making yourself feel better? And I'm not saying every time a woman gets plastic surgery done, she's doing it to please the male gaze. I don't think so at all. But we have been so conditioned since birth, women have, to look more presentable, to make sure your hair is like well groomed and well kept and well brushed and done. Or if it's in messy, put it up. We don't want it looking ragged. We want to make sure we're smiling all the time. These are all things of the patriarchy. And when we continue to physically alter our appearance, and I'm not talking about makeup, but fully alter our appearance by changing the way we look to further ourselves into this hole of the beauty industry, you have to understand that the patriarchy is behind that. And as much as men might come into my comments and say, I'm not telling any woman to do that, I like a woman natural. But you don't like a woman when she looks rough. You don't like a woman when she looks quote unquote bad or not up to your standards. You can think a woman looks bad for getting a lot of work done, but you also think women look bad when they look kind of raggedy, like most men do. It's just women have a lot less leeway when it comes to the way we present ourselves into the world and wanting to look better for yourself. For example, like me, I wear mascara every single day. I feel like it just makes me look a little bit more alive. And yeah, you can say I'm playing into the patriarchy. But to me, if I don't go out into the world feeling good, I don't think I perform well. And that's not necessarily to say that I'm doing it for a male's attention, because I don't think I am at this point in my life. But I do think that there are benefits to like not wearing sweats out all the time. There are literal studies, and I know this for a fact because when I was in my super self-help phase, I did a shit ton of research about this. I can't pull any articles up now, but maybe I'll try to link them below, about how feeling good about yourself helps you be more productive throughout the day. And this is something for me, like when I get ready, I just feel better and I will be more productive throughout my day. And that is super important, and that is empowering to me. But to call that feminist, I think is the wrong term to coat that as. Not sugarcoat, but coat what I'm doing as. I think that what I'm doing is empowering, just like a man presenting out into the world, kept, groomed, is empowering for him. It's the same thing on both ends, you know what I mean? But to say that women getting work done to themselves and constantly feeding into the societal pressure to look perfect or look a certain way and not embrace our natural beauty, like I think that makeup is one thing that you can do to enhance your natural beauty, not change your natural beauty to be perfect. We don't need to be perfect. That is the patriarchy, is we need to be perfect all the time. We don't need to be. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to look messy, but it's empowering to feel better. It's empowering to look your best, 100%. And I think that goes for all genders regardless. I don't think that's women alone. So I just think that there's such an issue with choice feminism when it comes to saying that criticizing women for constantly feeding into this lie or into this industry that profits off of us not feeling good about ourselves is damaging. And it is feeding in, again, and I'll say it 1,000 times, feeding into the patriarchy. It is feeding into conservative views. You look at Fox News, for example, you look at Caroline Leavitt in the White House. She's getting work done because there's a bunch of people on the internet telling her she looks bad. She shouldn't worry about the things on the internet. She should do what's right for her because that should be empowering. But she's altering herself to further fit this mold that she needs to fit. That is not feminism. That is her feeding into the patriarchy. But choice feminists would say, that's feminism. No. And I simply don't agree. I don't think that there's going to be much convincing in my brain that could convince me otherwise about choice feminism being the right way to go with this new wave of feminism. I think that anti-capitalistic feminism. I think my sister is a great example of this, actually. She has completely removed herself, damn near removed herself from the beauty industry as a whole. She doesn't wear makeup ever. She doesn't buy into like trends. Like, she makes a conscious effort to not do these things because they play into the patriarchy and they play into racism. There's so much racism that goes into beauty as well that we don't talk about, and that is something that I don't feel qualified enough to speak about, and my thoughts alone will not do that justice. And I don't want to say something that is incorrect because, again, that's not my place to speak about that. But it is my place to recognize that that goes into the way we present ourselves out into the world and the beauty industry as a whole. Now, moving forward, I think that to be a girl's girl, it is important to let women recognize their natural beauty. The video that I made about Vanna, I'm not trying to dig into her looking, she looks bad, I'm not gonna lie. I can't even sit here and lie to you guys. She doesn't look good. And I think that there's still time to revert back to, not completely back to her normal self, but girl, get some of that dissolved. We don't need to be doing this. Who are you doing that for? And a lot of people got online and were like, she's doing it for herself. She feels good in herself. I care to disagree. I simply care to disagree. You don't get that much filler when you feel good about yourself. You don't continuously go back. It's almost an addiction at that point, and failing to recognize it as such is even more harmful to the industry. And I don't care to argue about that. If you don't see it as that, I really don't care to argue about that. I don't think it's a good thing to argue about. I just think we need to be honest with our girls in this world, support girlhood as a whole when it comes to, there's nothing wrong with you. You are allowed to be you. And also there's a whole other issue, not issue, but aspect of like the cosmetic industry as a whole for a lot of trans women to be able to feel more feminine, and like feminine reconstruction surgery or whatever that is called. Like, there are good uses for plastic surgery that can be very feminist and like choosing to look more feminine, because that is empowering you to feel more feminine and step into more of a feminine energy, which I don't think is patriarchal. That also I won't really talk about because I don't really have space to speak about that because I don't know enough about it. But I don't want to cook off this video without talking about that. I don't know. I just think that we kind of, I don't want to say lie to ourselves. We don't allow ourselves to enjoy our natural beauty enough. Me, myself, I think I can not wear makeup as much, 100%. I think that it doesn't take a lot for me to feel put together. It's just like making sure I look, I hate to say presentable, not because of the patriarchy, but because it makes me feel better. Not just rolling out of bed and walking out of the house as such, but like doing a little hairbrush, that's okay. Doing a little mascara, brushing your teeth, making sure you are keeping up with your hygiene. That is basic human decency. I don't think that that is patriarchal at all. Anyways, that's all I have to say. If you like this video, please, please, please let me know, because I think this is going to be the new direction of my channel. I want to talk about these things because I have a lot of opinions on the beauty industry. I have a lot of opinions on feminism and sex work and girlhood. So yeah, let me know if you like it. Leave a like, leave a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.